Ladies and gentlemen, this is Daxavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our ACMG content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things ACMG.
Talk Time Live.
This is Amanda Celine Miller, the voice of Boruto and Sailor Jupiter, and you are listening to ACMG Presents Talk Time Live.
It's time for your Talk Time Live exclusive.
You are now about to witness the strength of geek knowledge.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the show with me right now is David D'Angelo of Yacht Club Games. If you recognize the name of that company, then you may recognize one of the most popular games that they've ever come up with, and that is the Shovel Knight series. But now they're trying to wow you again with the upcoming ninja-based 2D action side-scroller called Cyber Shadow. If you haven't seen the trailer, go out of your way to see it. It looks awesome, especially if you're a Ninja Gaiden fan of old. And we're here to talk about that and much more. David, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure, actually. I mean, I've been a big fan of you guys. Shovel Knight is just ridiculously fun. It's ultra popular at this point in time, and I'm eager to talk about this new game that you guys are coming out, but I also want to talk about other things involving Yacht Club Games and just much more. So Yacht Club Games, is it still consist of like 5 people at this time?
Oh no, not anymore.
No, not anymore. You guys have grown exponentially. I take it.
We're about 15 or so strong at this point. We're growing. Every year we're growing. I think we still have a very small mentality where everyone's doing everything, and we're working really hard to do way more than we can chew. But we're a little bigger now. So,
what's different now than when you guys started? Like, you have 15 from 5 to 15 now, so you're like about 3 times as much the power that you guys used to be. What was needed now that in order to do more of what you want for us?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. We wanted to have. I mean, when we built the original game with 5 people, we crunched every day, every hour of the day for 18 months. So just having the little flexibility to be like, oh, we can make games at the same pace, but not have to kill ourselves because we have more people. I think there was, we did want to do more than we were doing previously, which. Right. And, we were working way too hard spreading out that workload, and just things that, we didn't want to spend, every person was doing more than they really wanted to do, or in topics they didn't really want to do, right? From business stuff to marketing, running social media. It's like we're trying to bring on people to handle that kind of stuff as much as possible so we could focus really corely on the game development.
Very smart. I mean, as a graphic designer myself, and I've learned this going throughout the years, it's one of those things you just want to do the art. And all of that outside stuff, the promoting, the taxes, the accounting stuff, you want to leave that to other people. So it's inevitable that as you grow, you do have to extend your hand out to other people and trustworthy people. So that's awesome that you guys are at this level right now. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been great that we can do more without still killing ourselves in the same way. Absolutely. So I've talked to a lot of indie developers, on this show, really great, talented people like yourselves. And the story that I always get from a lot of them is that they were once former developers of major companies and wanted to branch out for the sake of their own creative freedom. Is that the same story with the origin of Yacht Club Games? The core of us, we came from a company called Way Forward, who made licensed games for the most part. Ashanti and DuckTales and. So I mean, I worked on DuckTales. You're my hero.
Some of us worked on like Double Dragon Neon and Blood Rain Betrayal and Contra 4, and but some people worked on Barbie here too. Like it's all over the place because they're the kind of company that just did whatever that work they could get at the time. So yeah, I guess we were more interested in branching out because the way WayForward worked is they had like 5 games going at any given time, and whenever project finished, you were all sort of like dispersed to whoever needed help the most.
Right.
And we had worked sort of on a team together. Double Dragon Neon was the last game we made together at WayForward, and we thought we gelled really nicely. And we wanted to keep making games together, and we just realized it wasn't possible at WayForward, that we'd be split up.
Yeah.
So the main reason was just that we wanted to keep working together.
That's actually that's a new story, and it makes sense. If you have a chemistry like that, you don't want to mess that up. That type of magic only comes by every certain time so often.
Yeah, and we just realized like we got better making games the more we made games together, right? We like learned each other's like pros and cons and et cetera, and got like part of making a game, I think, is making a good team to make a game. And at WayForward, it just felt like you could never grow as a team. So yeah, that's what we wanted to try out. That's why we made Shovel Knight.
Right. So it's obvious, no secret here. You guys are fans of retro games, in particular 8-bit, 16-bit games. No surprise. And you guys are the saviors of that type of art form and genre. What was some of the games that you actually loved growing up?
Well, I would first say I don't know about we didn't save anything, but if we helped bring a little more attention to it, that's great. But yeah, my favorite games growing up, I mean, Mario 3 is a huge one for me. Mega Man, Castlevania. I mean, basically all those like big core tentpole franchises from all the NES or Super Nintendo era games. Is what I grew up playing and really fell in love with. But I love everything. I mean, Shovel Knight even we pull in a lot of game design knowledge from the present to the past.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I disagree with you humbly, as humble as you're being right now. But you and not just Yacht Club Games itself, but just a whole slew of different companies that are coming out with these indie titles. Inti Creates is another one that I would put out there too. I mean, that just keeping alive what could have been a lost art. Really breathing some new life into it because we have new advancements and everything now. And, it's really awesome that you guys are doing it. And again, it really proves a lot because Shovel Knight is like the new modern era old school classic now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
But the obvious, one of the questions that I do have too is that let's talk about this latest game that you guys have out that will be coming out soon to multiple platforms. Literally a platform near you in this case. Cyber Shadow, which I believe you guys premiered that right after the Nintendo showcase, if I'm correct.
Yeah, we showed it off at PAX, which was last week.
Yeah.
So we showed it off. I think we revealed it like the day before the convention started.
Yeah. Just looking at it, it blew me away. I was like, oh my goodness, this is the Ninja Gaiden game I probably am looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah, I hope so. That's what we're trying to do.
I mean, obviously, it's taken from the original NES series that people love so much. And trust me when I tell you, I still got people on social media still talking about those games and that particular game. But this looks like it's just a upgrade, the answer that I just feel like watching it. It was the answer to a lot of things that was possibly missing from that original game back then. Probably because they weren't able to do it, but you guys are doing it now. Can you actually tell our listeners about this exciting new game and what are we prepared for?
Well, if you, grew up or ever played or you maybe you're curious about. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden games in general, I would say that's the main inspiration, just in terms of the skills and the action and the platforming of those series of games, the 2D platforming ones. But I think Arn, who's the main developer on it, he's really focused on sort of like all this, like, I don't know what you call them, like, but the dark visual, like sort of like the really cool games from the NES era, like, and I mean a cool meaning like they just like reek of being like it's like this guy's so cool, he's like a badass playing the game.
Yeah, everything's perfect, his accuracy, everything.
So yeah, like games like the Batman on the NES or those like the Machines of Contra like being so rad, or I mean really that like that dark 80s aesthetic is I think what he's trying to nail, and we're trying to like amplify as much as possible. I mean it's a really cool game. It's really simple. It's just like jumping and slashing, and as you get further in the game, you're like upgrading your mobility and your attack skills, and just it's like from stage to stage, you're like really feeling like you're like growing in power and ability and skill, and it's fun.
Hearing this right now. This is, I mean, because one of the, I love Ninja Gaiden, but Ninja Gaiden is still to this day I have Nintendo Online, and even if they help me cheat to get to the final stage, it's still beating my ass. So
yeah, Ninja Gaiden is a rough experience for sure. I mean, it was definitely like of that era. I mean, it's missing a lot of like the polish and the what makes it like what's helping you. It doesn't have anything that's like really helping you guide you through the experience. And I think that's what we're focusing on a lot, is the same way we took like the Mega Man and Zelda from the NES era, and we sort of like mushed them together, and a bunch of other games too, but like trying to do that same thing for Shovel Knight, that it's like here's another like branch of the NES era, this Ninja Gaiden, and like how can we make it nice and friendly to the modern player.
Oh, I just had this feeling like you're gonna do it, and you won't make it brutally hard, hopefully.
No, I mean I'll what we like to say around here a lot is it will be challenging. But it won't be hard.
I can accept challenging.
Yeah, and hopefully it's like a challenge and you're overcoming it, and it's fun to to learn how to like conquer that challenge. But hopefully it's not like painful, which is what like I think a lot of people associate like NES hard games with as being painful, and like, oh, that bird knocked me into the pit like 50 times in a row and I just can't take it anymore.
Right, exactly. Even if you do the up, up, down, down code, the Contra code at best.
Yeah.
So, how long did it take this project to be developed this time around?
Well, Arn's been working on it for like a decade since the original his conception of it, but he like really the last 3 years has been like his big push on it, and then we've been on the project with him for a year. So all in all, it's a lot of time that's been put into this game, and hopefully it's worth it.
You know what? The thing again with the trailer, the thing that I liked about it, one of my favorite NES games that I don't think gets nearly enough credit because everybody reverts to the Mega Drive or the Sega Genesis version, is Strider. And I don't know if you've ever played the original NES Strider, but it had RPG elements where you can get weapons and you could get different accessories to do really cool things throughout the game as you're progressing along, much like their recent Strider game that came out years ago.
Right.
And I like what I saw there, and not to mention he had a motorcycle. So
yeah.
you're cybernetic and you have a motorcycle. I mean, like, just how badass are you going to be in this game at this point? So I did like that element. It looks like it's going to be a lot of replay value is going to be played in here. So I'm very excited to get my hands on this when you guys come out with it. Do you have? I didn't see a due date in there. So has that been decided yet, or is it still in development?
Yeah, it's in development. We don't want to put a date on it unless we're sure we can hit that date 100%. So, but hopefully it's sooner than later.
Are the odds that it will be in 2019?
I'm not putting any odds on anything.
Have me calling you back. Have me call you back on it. Like, you actually said.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, we've come to learn that we only are incorrect about when we think games will be done. But I would say like a lot of the game is done. It's looking really good. I think at this point, like it's just about like polishing every stage and making it perfect. But that can take a little amount of time or a lot of time, depending.
It will never, as long as it's not as long as Kingdom Hearts. I think people will appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully not.
But honestly, let's go over to the mentioned Shovel Knights, because that game has, it really shot off to almost an astronomical popularity. And when it came to creating those great titles like that, does it? Do you base it on the project of like how should I put this? Of past games when you create stuff like that, or how is it that you guys are basing your game development? Is it based on games of the past, or are you trying to do something totally new, or is it that you want to have that nostalgic type of feel to the games?
I think in making new games, what we're considering, I mean, there's a lot of elements to it, but like for Shovel Knight, I guess part of what we are trying to do as a company is like lift those old gameplay, like retro and classic, or that era, the 80s and 90s era.
Yeah.
And like let it like bring them to everyone's attention in a way that shows why they're cool and interesting while keeping them fresh and relevant.
Right.
Making them new again, essentially. So I think that's like that's a lot of what we're trying to do as a company, and in doing that, I think when we were making Shovel Knight, what we were looking at is like, wow, like no one's like tried to make a game that would make you fall in love with NES games. Yeah. So that's what we thought, like if we make one that looks like an NES game, that like has very few mechanics like an NES game, then we can like, not only will you understand it right away when you see it, but you'll be able to play it and then be like, oh, this is really fun, and you know what else must be like this is like Mega Man. It looks just like it. It's simple, just like it. Like I should try that out. I didn't realize as like a person that grew up on the PlayStation 3 that like this is a fun thing I can play.
Yeah.
So I mean that's what we're trying to like bring that to modern eyes essentially. And I think what that means is typically like doing new things with something old.
Yeah. Are you guys? Were there any other concepts that you were going to work on before leading up to Shovel Knights, or was that the initial first one that you guys wanted to shoot out?
When we first started, we were actually thinking about making a phone game, because we were playing a bunch of phone games at the time and being like, oh, they are all terrible.
When they were really
terrible. Like, it's really hard to play a platformer on your phone.
Yeah. Like
maybe we should try to do it. And we tried it, and we were all like, oh, we hate playing games without a controller. Why are we doing this? So we were like, well, let's change that. And I mean, we were like making games on the side too. It wasn't like we were really focused on it. And then when we decided to leave WayForward, we were like, what do we actually want to make?
Yeah.
And that's I think that's where we landed with Shovel Knight.
And that was the first idea that you guys came up with? There wasn't anything else that you guys were brainstorming around?
Nope, that was it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's like a shot in the dark.
Well, sort of. I mean, we came off making like Contra 4, like I said, Double Dragon Neon. We came off making these like sequels or reimaginings of NES games.
Yeah.
And so we were like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we just made one of those instead of like trying to like do something, we're like trying to make the game in this modern setting, but what if we tried to make a modern game in the old setting?
Right.
So to us, it was a very natural evolution of what we were already doing.
Right. Are you all still in disbelief at the success and popularity of the game series?
Oh, definitely.
Has it really got into your head that like people are actually getting tattoos of Shovel Knight now?
It's crazy. I mean, what we talk about every day. I mean, we're adding all these new games essentially to Treasure Trove, the complete package, and every day we talk about, like, is anyone going to play this? Is anyone going to play this? Probably not, right? It's so, I think it's really bizarre to us, especially because we came from Way Forward where not a lot of people were playing the games.
Right.
So to us, it's just like it just seems natural that, everyone's going to pay attention to, Grand Theft Auto or whatever other big game is coming out, and they're going to miss us.
I mean, not only that, but you guys have made it to what is considered the Hall of Fame of games, and to have Shovel Knights in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which is, am I correct that you guys are the only indie character? That is the only indie character in that game.
We're definitely the only assist trophy. I think other indie games have like stickers or other kind of
right, but that character actually is like you said, it's an assist trophy that actually comes out in 3D form.
Yeah.
To attack you. And so it's like, I mean, just the fact that that notoriety is in that game, because like I said, I talked to Ruben Langdon, who's like the voice of Dante from Devil May Cry, and he's also the voice of Ken Masters, and his character is now in the game too. And I'm like, this game is seriously becoming literally the Mount Rushmore, if not the Hall of Fame of video games right now, because it has everybody in there. And to have an indie title that really has only been out, how many years have Shovel Knight been out now?
It will be 5 years in June.
That's really still a short amount of time when you really think about it. That is phenomenal.
I mean, we were blown away when we were told that they wanted to put when Sakurai wanted to put Shovel Knight in the game. It was just dumbfounding.
It literally is immortalized at this point.
It's such a huge honor. It really means. We were people that were playing that game every day, just being like, "This is the coolest game," and then someone says, "Oh, I'm going to put you in the coolest game that you play every day for fun." It's like, to us, it's just like, what? Whoa!
And not only that, Nintendo is almost considered like the Disney of video games.
Yeah. So
it's like you guys got into Wreck-It Ralph in some cases.
Yeah, I guess so. It's such a huge honor.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about I don't want to get in deep into financials or anything, but like the crowdfunding portion, which helped lead you guys to where you guys at, thanks to the fans. Are you all beyond the point of crowdfunding now, or is it still an effective tool for you to be able to develop?
I don't think we're beyond it. I mean, we've talked a lot about what we would, if we did it again, how we would do it. Mm-hmm. I think we're still trying to pin down what would make sense, but I think for us, the financial part of it isn't as important to us as the marketing mm-hmm. and just the way it creates a community around your game that's really excited about it.
Yeah,
that's what we really loved from Shovel Knight, and making these, making Plague of Shadows and Spectre of Torment and King of Cards. We sort of like missed that piece of it, just having this like core group of fans that's all in one place, ready to talk about it and be excited about it. So I think if we did it again, that's like what we want to focus on.
Right.
And the money part of it would be like less important to us.
Right. Well, I can only imagine that you have the equipment and the technology to develop. It's just like you said, the marketing, promotion, the PR of it all.
Yeah. I mean, I think there might come a point where we run out of money and we would need help.
Being able to buy a booth.
Yeah.
at a PAX or a E3 or whatever, whichever comes first.
Yeah, I mean, but we did a lot of really fun stuff with the Kickstarter. Like, we had developers for a day, which were really fun, and we did design hangouts where we'd everyone who backed at a certain level would like join in a hangout, and we'd talk about like what we're designing that week. And it was just really fun to have that kind of engagement with our fans. During the development process, it'd be fun to sort of replicate that.
Right. So, as far as the crowdfunding again, is it still a valuable tool, or is it? Because I feel like it almost is plateaued to some extent. Especially last time I heard anybody really crowdfund was Yu Suzuki, and for Shenmue 3.
It does seem like it's plateaued. I'm not sure. It's hard to say what. Like if we put another one up there, would it do really well or what? I don't know. It does. I would hope it's still an effective tool for everyone, just because I mean it was a huge help. I mean, I don't think we would be here without it. So,
I don't know, absolutely. You guys came at the right time too.
It's going away, but it definitely does seem like there's not. It used to be like it felt like every year they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it doesn't seem. I'm not sure if it got smaller or it's just plateauing or what's going on.
Right. Can you talk a little about when we talked about it? You gave it a little bit about like the expansion of the club and how you guys have now utilized different people for different things. But can you talk a little bit about the strategic planning that goes into the development of a character that which you believe that will attract a target demographic?
I think for us, it's usually like figuring out what the core of the game is going to be. So like what's like drawing you and what are you thinking from moment to moment that makes it exciting. So like we've set out like core pillars, like this is going to be an NES game, this is going to have an NES aesthetic, it's going to be like really simple in controls, and then it's drilling down a little bit further, being like, well, what could those like simple controls be? And for Shovel Knight, we thought, well, we were playing a lot of Zelda 2 at the time, and we thought, well, that down thrust in Zelda 2 is really fun, like, but it's really like limited in that game. You get it towards the end of the game, and it feels like you could build a whole game out of that attack. So like, what would work well with it? We can't just like make it only a down thrust game. So like, we were thinking like a 1-2 punch. Like I would do like a flipping action. Like a flip a beetle or turtle over and then expose its underbelly and I'd down thrust it. So that's where we came up with like what was a scooping action would flip something over, right? Which to us felt like a shovel. Like that was the only weapon that would fit like a scoop and then and then we were really inspired by the structure of Mega Man, just the 8 mans, and we thought, well, why don't we set it in a medieval setting? We'll have 8 knights. And there you go. Now we have our game. Let's go running.
Right. So definitely, David, thank you so much for taking the time. I got a couple more questions for you, but I just want to take the time to say thank you. This is absolutely awesome, and you guys rock.
Thank you.
But the one off question, the added question I got to ask, I have Blade Strangers. And, of course, Shovel Knight is in there, amongst other indie characters from NT Creates and such. Who did the designing for the Shovel Knight character design in that game?
It's like Saizen-sen or something like that?
I think so. I would have to get my Switch in order to...
But yeah, they did it. They put that together, they sent it over to us, and we're like, that looks rad as hell. We're so happy. Yeah, I mean, we said it would be like that. I mean, they showed us they're making like an anime look, all these anime versions of these old games. And we just thought, oh yeah, that like, make him like a big gruff dude. That'd be really cool. So yeah, they put that together and knocked it out of the park.
I liked it because all the characters in the game look box cover art worthy.
Yeah.
And when I saw Shovel Knight, I'm like, that looks like the front of a Capcom game. Right before you get to the actual sprites.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it really is. But have you guys actually, during a meeting or something, has the idea of a 3D game ever come to mind?
Oh yeah, I mean when we talk about Shovel Knight, all we say is like we want to bring it through the ages. We want to make Shovel Knight and Super Shovel Knight and Shovel Knight 64, and that would be the best if we had Shovel Knight 64.
Oh goodness, yes.
I think we're definitely interested in making 3D games, and like in the same way we like lifted the games from the NES era, like that gameplay. I think we'd want to do the same for the like 3D era, like those early 3D games. I think had a lot of cool ideas in them that like didn't really get explored, right. Or like maybe people aren't valuing as much these days. I think we'd love to do the same thing with them.
Right. What would you say would be the biggest challenge that you guys had to encounter?
The biggest challenge? Yeah. I mean, a big challenge every day is just like making sure, just like just like keeping the ship running.
Right.
Just like making sure, it's like, how much money do we have? How much time do we have to make the game? Are we going to be able to do that or this or, like, are we gonna be able to like make this good in that amount of time? That kind of stuff. Those are the biggest challenges. I think, one of the biggest challenges coming from Way Forward was just sort of along the same lines. It's just like we had made games as a team, as developers, but we didn't know how to really run a company.
Yeah.
So learning how to do that, to be like, we can run out of money. Like learning those lessons, I think, was like the trickiest thing for us.
Right. So last question, if you can give any word of advice, because I get a lot of people who rather, because of the format of our show and the A.C.M.G. brand, which is anime, comics, movies, and games, we got people who want to be actors. We got people who want to be game developers. We got people who want to be animators, and we have people who just want to be, be in the gaming industry. If you were to give any word of advice for those who wanted to become a developer, what would you say?
The biggest thing I think we say, and I'm sure a lot of people have said, is that like just try making a game. There's a lot of tools out there. I think like that are making it really easy to make a game these days. I think going through the full process of making a game on your own, even if it's like, I'm going to clone Snake or clone Pac-Man or clone Tetris, but I'm gonna tweak like one or two things to try to make it slightly different, and see how that can how do you like build a game from scratch, and how does that feel, and like two, how does it feel to like really change a core thing in a game, and how does that mess with it, and three, like what is it actually like to go from beginning to end and finish something and show it to people and get that kind of reaction. I think like having that full loop of making a game just makes it like really easy, much easier to like, if you want to work somewhere, you got something to show,
right? Exactly.
that you did, and show that you're like actually interested and you can finish something. And then two, like being able to touch every part of a game and learn about it, I think helps a lot from going from like someone who appreciates games to someone who can actually like make them and realize what goes into building all the ideas that like get mushed into a game.
Right. Now, I wouldn't want to, start any animosity within your internal staff, but what educational facility would be best to learn game developing?
I actually don't know. A lot of people here didn't really go to school for games.
That is good to know, people.
It depends a lot on your discipline, I think. Like art schools, I think you can learn the skills you need for art for many, jobs. I think game design is like harder. It's like you probably need to figure out a game school to go to. Like a programming is like much more like general that you could probably like learn in any school. It could really depend a lot. I went to a liberal arts college, so it's like really, really off the path of like focused on.
It's any direction but one, but at least you have a direction somewhere eventually.
So I think it depends a lot. I think it's like finding what makes sense for you, really. But I think if you like want to make games, it's like figuring out how to focus that thing in the direction that will get you where you want to be.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. David, thank you so very much again for being on the show. What is next for you guys exactly? We got Cyber Shadow coming out. Anything else new coming our way?
We're working on King of Cards right now, which is the King Knight expansion for Shovel Knight, and we're doing Shovel Knight Showdown, which is the
cannot wait for that, by the way.
Local multiplayer brawler. It's really, really cool. We're just trying to get those out the door and then move on to something new.
Absolutely awesome. Well, thank you guys for all that you've done. I mean, you guys worked your ass off to create something very special for the gaming community, and I can't thank you enough for not only being on the show, but just having the passion to do what you guys do. It's pretty awesome to see.
Oh, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this very special episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live exclusive. On behalf of myself and David D'Angelo, all I got to say is learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. We are out of here. Take care. This episode of ACMG Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.